you?
I am good. And how are you?
Good, good. So let's wait like a few more minutes to see if more people join in. Okay.
Hi.
Hello, Pedro.
Hi, Don. How are you?
I'm well. Can we, since there are so many people on this and people probably have other things to do, can we go ahead and get started?
Yes, I was just waiting to have more like people representatives from more countries. But
Well, I think they'll join when they can either get on, or if they have connectivity problems, they'll join later.
okay, you just give me one moment then. Oh, just...
Esconder aquela cena.
Aqui, aqui. Aqui.
Não, deve ser lá.
É isto. Okay, guys. So let's start. Okay, so welcome to another global demo. Okay, and as per last demo, we are focusing this this demo on the activation team and the activities that we did that impact directly the markets, as well as some changes on the app which are customer facing. Okay, so this week I'm starting with what we've been working on the activation team for the past 2 weeks. So starting with Kenya, we continue to work on the new Tico Explorer offering in Kenya. Okay, we set it up offers, so offers are already available in Kenya, and we added the Live Well, Learn, and Look Good offers to the Tico Explorer app, and I'm going to show that in a moment. And besides that, we continued the effort of unblocking some of the Tico Pros, mobilizers, and provider activities on a case-by-case scenario. So we are constantly receiving new lists of providers and mobilizers that sign the COC so that we can reintroduce them to the Tico system in Kenya. So for Ethiopia, we had a big issue and a lot of loose ends that we've been trying to solve on the past weeks. So the issue started and arose when we noticed that some agents were not being rewarded and some agents were being rewarded incorrectly. All of this was tied into the organization of the agents not being successfully updated. So we had agents on the field that didn't actually belong to any organization. We started and sorted all of that information out with the help of Caleb and Erika as well. And another thing that we are doing for this is reensuring that the Tico Pro enrollment and the agent enrollment always copies the organization from the TSF. So this is kind of a lessons learned in Ethiopia, is that we need to review how Tico Pros are being enrolled across the board. We are starting with Ethiopia, then we need to review for all the other countries to make sure that when a new Tico Pro is enrolled, that Tico Pro has the correct organization, as this impacts both the reward system that we have on top of the interactions, as well as the reporting.
Can I interrupt here?
Yes, go ahead.
So when you say organization, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so when an agent is enrolled into the system, they need to belong to organization so that we know which bank we should.
So you mean a bank? You mean a funder?
Yeah, exactly.
Not an organization. You mean a funder. We need to use a common terminology because we often have issues with semantics, and we need to make sure that we're using the right terminology. In this case, it would be a funder bank. And so I think we need to understand how we're going to prevent this, because as I understood it took 2 weeks or more to resolve this in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And we need to, if that's an issue in other countries, we need to make sure we resolve that. Now, in most countries, there's only one funder. In Ethiopia, there are a couple different ones. So it's in countries where there would be different funders. So in India, it would not be a problem. There is only one funder. But in other countries, such as Kenya, there could possibly be an issue, especially on Tico Explore, which is funded by a different funder.
Yeah. So what we are doing is that we are currently looking into how Tico Pros enroll into the system to make sure that they have all the information on it. So in Ethiopia case, we noticed that it was the TSFs registering the Tico Pro agents. So we need to ensure that any new TSF added to the system needs to have all the correct information, so that when he enrolls a new agent, the agent is correctly configured in the system.
So I hope that's automated, that is not a function of the TSM has to decide which funder this TSF is going to be.
The only manual part is making sure that the TSF has all the information. And that's when we add new TSFs to the system, that they need to have that information in.
That the TSF, who needs to have the responsibility for that? Who in the organization needs to own that?
I would say that it's the TSA's responsibilities when they have a new TSF to the system.
Okay, in many places we don't have a TSA. We need to understand this market by market, because there are only 2 TSAs in the organization. Yes. So,
or in Ethiopia and Kenya should be the TSAs, or in Ethiopia instance, I would say it should end up being Caleb. For all the other markets, it's customer support that usually receives the list of agents to add. So then it will be Arika adding those. Again, in order to ensure this, we are starting to have conversation around having this Mubrikadu manual within the activation team, that we can easily train new TSAs that join on board, or new people doing this kind of changes.
Okay.
Okay, so any more questions on this? So as Don mentioned, this is like really important across the board. Okay, our system, to ensure that our system works correctly in the country, we need to ensure that all the information is there. Because fixing it, if the information is not there on day one, then it requires a lot of manual work to look into all the agents and update all the organization. That's why it took us like one and a half week to sort this out in Ethiopia and to figure out the problem as well. The other thing that we did in Ethiopia is that remove the Tico miles incentive for stocking products. It was something that it was already in the backlog for quite a few weeks, so we started doing that as well. Now up to seed markets for Cameroon, we started and we are still in progress on getting this new Tico system in Cameroon ready. We work on the apps during the past week, and this week we are working on restrictions and such. So we have this release for the 6th of August, and we are making sure that everything is ready before the launch. So for South Africa, we had a small addition to the DGMT configurations and integration, where coaches would have to validate CHW activities. This is basically coaches that tell the system how many vitamin, for instance, how many vitamin A's a CHW gave in the field. Okay, this is something that it's still manual, and because people on the field may not have connectivity or may not be correctly registering the system. So the option here was to have coaches validating what the CHW will bring to their monthly meetings. And last but not least, in Burundi, we reviewed the incentives for the Rafiki. So Burundi, it's a country where we are currently working, and we have a few more tasks. So next week, we'll be working on it as well. So you can expect more news in the coming weeks. So this is for the activation team. Now looking for the changes that we introduced in our apps, starting with some feedback that we've been having from India. So the India team have been providing like a lot of feedback on our apps and small improvements that we may want to do. So one of them was making sure that the year of birth it's valid when they put it. So we had people activating Tico cards with the year of birth as 20, which, as it's probably not logical to have someone that makes 200 years old, 2000 years old probably. So we sorted that out, and we added a small restriction in the app to ensure that people only input valid year of birth dates. And the other thing was changing the antenatal care to be just ANC on the app, as apparently in the field, the people that validate the visits are not familiar with the term antenatal care service, and they prefer to have the ANC code there. So after this, and the major thing I would say that we worked was on the Tico Explorer app. We basically added the multi-language support to the app, which we didn't by now. We had to do this to ensure that the app was ready for Cameroon, as in Cameroon, everyone speaks in French. We had to ensure that the app was in French. So therefore, this is now available. So every time that we want now to release the Tico Explorer app in a new country, it will be easier to add translations. So this is one thing that, for instance, for India, if we want to put the app in Hindi, now we have the capability to do so. And the same for Ethiopia, where if we want to have the app in Amharic, it's just about creating the translations, having someone translate them, and then releasing it into the app. Next one, for Cameroon. So for Cameroon, we added a few things on the app already, which is register education sessions. This is part of the enrollment of a new Rafiki to the system. And things that we add is the capability of registering provider visits as well, and activating Tico cards within the app. So all of this is still, I'm putting this on the global demo. This is still under testing. And again, everything should be ready by the end of this week to ensure hopefully a smooth launch in Cameroon. Okay, so another thing that we did in Kenya, so within the Tico Explorer app, so there's one thing actually missing from you. So the first thing was adding the Live Well, Look Good and the Learn offers into the Tico Explorer app, so that people, like partners that have a Look Good offer in their salon, for instance, they can download the app, open the app, click on register session, and then they have the option to register a Look Good session within the app. This will allow us to start collecting numbers on the usage of the offers that we are making available. And the other big thing, which is not highlighted in this slide, is the release of the Tico Explorer app in Kenya. So right now, the Tico Explorer app, it's already available in Kenya. So if you're in Kenya, if you search Tico Explorer, you'll see the app there. And depending on your profile, you have these different actions that you can do on the app. This is something that we did to ensure, from a marketing point of view, we were using the correct brand with our target audience. And
Pedro,
yes.
for the Tico Explore app for Kenya, could you check T-Safe card to check Tico Explore card? Because we will have Tico Explore cards.
Yeah, so let's take that conversation offline, Larissa. Okay, maybe we want to change this to be generically a Tico Explore card, or a Tico card, just call it Tico card instead of having those two different ones, as the cards are basically the same to our system.
Okay, so check your Tico card, all right.
Okay.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about it later, thanks.
Yeah. And yeah, any more questions?
I have one question on the apps for Kenya. So that's T-Safe, Tico Pro, and even this Tico Explore app. And I know we've spoken about it summarily, but I just want to know, how long will it take for us to start using these apps as a communication tool?
So first,
where we can add elements for reminders on how to enroll or check your balance, or even more information that we have in the system. Because right now we're going to use thousands of shillings to print brochures and handouts when we can use the app. So I just want to have a general time frame on how long that will take.
Yeah, so it's a bit hard to tell you how long it will take without going through the user journey that the user will have in the app. So right now, like the Tico Explorer app is being targeted to to providers, Tico retailers, and some Tico pros, depending on what they do, and as well Tico partners. So if
Okay.
you want, if that, depending on the communication tools that we want to include, but I would say communication tools would be for Rafikis, and currently the Rafikis are not yet the targets of this app. So maybe we need to include that in the future and see what is the user journey and user experience for them. So then we can introduce them on the app.
Okay, sure. I'll work on a laundry list and then we can discuss it separately from this. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so this is it. Basically, I have just one more thing to communicate with everyone. So during August, I guess, like most of you know, that part of the team will be not working or will be on holidays. So we are trying our best to guarantee that we have support for like all the requests that come from the markets. What we are talking about now is that, so I'm going on leave for the next week, and whilst I'm on leave, I will kindly ask you guys to, every time that we have an issue on the field, to communicate with Arika. And if Arika needs any support, Admilo should be present to help her out during her activities. But ideally, during August, we don't want like new Tico systems configurations to come in, as we want to have like the team effort and the team capability to actually respond to those requests. So if it's changes on currently existing Tico systems, please come like ask Arika and make a request to go through her. So then they can discuss in the team and provide better timelines for that. But just want to let you know that completely new requests, like completely out of the blue configurations, those will then, I will recommend to be altered. So if you have anything major that you see coming for the next month, please let me know before Friday, so that I can discuss with you personally and provide like a sort of a rough timeline on it, okay?
Pedro, can I just maybe make a clarifying point on that?
Sure.
I think for many of us, there's no differentiation between configuration and other stuff, right? There is for you guys, I understand. There's a lot of different technical differences. I just want to be clear again that anyone making a request for a change in the system, it has to go through myself or Marie Lou if it is Ethiopia, India, or Kenya. For the other countries, it needs to go through Natalie Ann or Maria.
Yes.
Okay, so if there are minor changes that Erica can do in the system, then make the request to Erica, but major issues should go through us of making decisions of what those changes will be.
Okay, perfect.
And one question on top of that, where are we at in having each of the countries have all of the product restrictions in place and functioning?
So the cross-product restrictions should be in place nowadays.
For every country?
Yes, we are. So one thing that we are working on the activation team is ensuring that everything is well documented. So this is an effort that we've been taking for most of the countries, and we already have documents that's documented. Some of them need to be a bit reviewed to ensure that it's actually the offer that we have in the country, that it's written down in the document. This is an effort that we are trying to do. We have for most of the countries. I need to go on a country by country basis to ensure that everything is there. But regarding cross-product restrictions, they should all be present.
Okay, so when will we know that everything is in fact in place?
Well,
You say you're doing a review of everything. So when will we know that everything is in fact working for every market?
For every market, regarding cross-product restrictions, by beginning of September, I can let you know of that. So, and the thing here is that like the cross-product restrictions are in place, the ones that were discussed. If someone sees that something is not as it was agreed, then please communicate with me. But we were not having like any issues with them. The only concern that we had, actually the last issue that we had coming from the market was related to Burundi, and it was not the cross-product restrictions, was some peer-to-peer referrals that were blocked to some actors that they shouldn't. And we are working out on the Malawi situation nowadays to ensure that what it was in the restrictions is actually applied. Besides that, everything should be sorted. Okay. Any more questions? No? Okay, so thank you very much, and see you in a couple of weeks. If you have any questions, just feel free to Slack me or email me or send me, whichever you prefer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Pedro.